The top stories. Judiciary calls on the executive and legislature to review the 2024 budget after rejecting its allocation.
The Chief Justice did that, and that budget estimate was about $31 million. The Ministry of Finance on its own decided to cut it down and presented $17 million to the legislature, and which the judiciary felt that, number one, the Ministry of Finance has no authority in law to tamper with the judiciary budget. It is only the three heads of government that could have negotiated anything that had to do with the budget presented by the Chief Justice.
Preliminary work in construction of Elbc's new broadcast complex commences following the arrival of technical team from China. Transport Ministry denies processing and giving insurance documents to commercial motorcyclists. And away from home, thousands of people killed in a village massacre in central Sudan. These stories and much more, including sports, the weather report, the news in simple English and French, and also coming up is a commentary titled Liberia, South Korea, Ties Will Yield Good Results. Let's now join Grace Moliezi for the news bulletin.
The judiciary, through the Supreme Court, has rejected allotments made in the 2024 fiscal budget. In a statement Wednesday, the judiciary viewed its budgetary allotment as an imposition by both legislative and executive branch of government. The judiciary said allocating US $17 million and a one-off contingency of $3 million, constituting 2.8% of the national budget, is an abuse of the power given the legislature under Article 34D, which undermines the function of another branch of government. The judiciary further said the lack of adequate financial support by the government over the years has resulted to deteriorating infrastructures, lack of logistics, and worsening conditions of services. It said the formulation and passage of the 2024 fiscal budget by the executive and the legislature are done without regard to the judiciary as a co-equal branch of government. The judiciary is meanwhile calling on the other two branches to take immediate actions to address the disparity by revisiting the budget to avoid any further judicial obstruction. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court has placed a stay order on President Joseph Boakai's Executive Order 126, creating the Asset Recovery Team. The court's decision was triggered by a petition filed by the Gracious Right Incorporated, questioning the unconstitutionality of the order that gave birth to the Asset Recovery Team. The Supreme Court has since mandated the Justice Minister to appear and file his returns on or before June 10 to the full bench to show cause why the petition should not be granted. The court has placed a halt to all proceedings or actions on the executive order until the matter can be disposed of as provided by law. Following the court's order, the head of the Asset Recovery Team, Councillor Edwin Clark Martin, told court reporters that he is not deterred, adding that he will join the Attorney General to defend the executive order. The Ministry of Transport has termed false and misleading claims that the institution is involved in the processing of insurance documents for commercial motorbikes. Transport Minister Solive Tyler clarified that the entity has never been associated with the processing of insurance documents as being wrongly claimed in the media. Minister Tyler described the action as unfounded and one intended to stain the integrity of the ministry and undermine its effective operations.
On this leapfrogging to e-mobility acceleration project, we are committed to developing a zero-emission vehicle policy that will propel our transport sector into a cleaner, greener, and more sustainable future.
Speaking at a news conference Thursday in Monrovia, the transport minister disclosed an ongoing investigation into the alleged involvement of some employees in the legal issuance of fake insurance documents. According to him, a directive has already been issued to all insurance companies to recall all agents from around the premises of the ministry. An advanced team of the China Railway Construction and Engineering Group has arrived in Liberia as guest of the Liberia Broadcasting System. The team, added by the West Africa Executive, headed by the West Africa Executive Director Chris Wang, is here for an assessment tour ahead of the construction of a new broadcast complex for the LBS in Painesville. Speaking during the visit of Mr. Wang, LBS Director General Eugene Fagon said the coming of the team demonstrates the Chinese government's commitment to its promise. For his part, Mr. Chris Wang said his team will count on the cooperation and support of LBS and the people of Liberia to deliver a good and satisfactory project. The government of the People's Republic of China is expected to spend $5 million on new state of the art broadcast facilities for the Liberia broadcasting system. Deputy Foreign Minister for Legal Affairs, Councillor Gidi Ama, has re-emphasized President Boakai's commitment to strengthening ties between Liberia and Ghana. According to a Foreign Ministry release, Councillor Ama made the statement recently when he met with Ghana's Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, Kweku Sapong. The meeting focused on the ongoing repatriation of Liberians affected by the demolition of Buduburam settlement in Ghana. During the meeting, Councillor Ama conveyed, on behalf of President Boakai, Liberia's profound gratitude to the government and people of Ghana for hosting the Liberian refugee community over the last 3 decades. Councillor Ama also urged Ghanaian authorities to safeguard the displaced Liberians until the repatriation efforts are completed in the coming weeks. The Commerce Ministry, in close consultation with the Liberia Petroleum Refining Company, has announced a reduction in the pump prices of gasoline and fuel oil by 10%, by 10 US cents and 20 US cents respectively, according to a price circular jointly signed by the Commerce Ministry and the LPRC. The wholesale prices for gasoline and diesel are now US $4 and $4.53. The retail pump prices for gasoline and diesel stand at US $4.28 or 830 Liberian dollars and US $4.81 or 930 Liberian dollars respectively. The current price of gasoline reflects a 10 US cents reduction, while the price of diesel fuel experienced 20 US cents reduction. A release said the Commerce Ministry and LPRC Inspectorate team will closely monitor the approved ceiling prices to avoid arbitrary hike in the pump prices of petroleum products in the country. The Director for Climate Change and Environment at the Transport Ministry, Spencer Taylor, says the launch of the zero-emission vehicle is a significant step toward transforming Liberia's transport sector. Mr. Taylor said the launch will drive the ministry to develop the zero-emission vehicle policy to get the country's transport sector to be cleaner and greener in future. He said the policy will also be a major achievement toward fossil fuel sustainable and environmentally friendly system in Liberia, as well as reducing noise pollution and creating new economic opportunities. Mr. Taylor spoke Thursday in Monrovia at the launch of the Liberia Energy Access Practitioner Network, LEAP, zero-emission vehicle adoption policy in Liberia. He also disclosed that the adoption of the project revised Liberia's policy and aligns it with the current realities in line with the transport sector of other countries. National Rice Federation of Liberia is calling for holistic composition of the National Rice Committee. Recently, President Joseph Boakai constituted a committee on rice to ensure the availability and price stability of the country's staple food. According to the Federation's president, Mohamed Kamara, the holistic composition of the committee is crucial to deriving strategies toward accelerating local production of rice. He said inclusion, the National Rice Federation, and the Central Agriculture Research Institute on the committee will also ensure Liberians' participation in the importation and distribution of rice across the country. The release quotes Mr. Kamara as describing the National Rice Federation of Liberia and the Central Agriculture Research Institute carry as key players in the country's rice sector. And police in Buchanan, Grand Bassa County have forwarded to court a 21-year-old man identified as Jonah Flomo for allegedly killing his friend Samori Cleon in the Elbc concession area in the county. According to our correspondent, the incident occurred in the early morning hours of May 28 in the Elbc concession area. Report says defendant Jonah Flomo allegedly used mortar pestle and hit his friend Samuel Cleon on his forehead twice, which led to his instant death. According to police investigation, the alleged act of the defendant Jonah is criminal and in violation of Section 14.1 of the Penal Law of Liberia. Meanwhile, defendant Jonah Flomo is currently at the Upper Buchanan Central Prison awaiting court trial.
Grace Malayizi and the news bulletin. She returns a little later with the weather report and foreign news. One of the big stories we following preliminary work in construction of LBS new broadcast complex commences following arrival of technical team from China. To this one, as you may have heard in the news, the judiciary branch of government has rejected appropriations made in the 2024 fiscal budget and is calling on the executive and legislature to review the budget. Councillor Dara Ambrose Moore is the director of press and public affairs at the judiciary. He explains more.
The Supreme Court has